So the United Nations isn't sure at all if the U.S. occupation of Syria is bad. It's maybe, they don't know. If it's Russia, yeah, it's bad. But the U.S., I mean, that's a metaphorical question, really. Can we call in Albert Camus? This exchange was highlighted by Caitlin Johnstone. It is between China Global Television Network's Zhu Denzi and the UN Deputy Spokesperson for the Security General, Farhan Haq. It highlights just how far the United Nations is willing to crawl up the United States butthole. Yes, I said butthole. This reporter, Denzi, has done on-the-ground reporting in Syria, so he knows that the U.S. occupation there is illegal and unwanted.
Oh, wait, he's been to Syria? He's a journalist?
He has actually been there.
Okay.
He is asking about the attack last week when the U.S. retaliated for a base that was bombed by a drone attack. One U.S. contractor was killed and 5 other service members were injured. Now, as a reminder, Syria considers that the U.S. presence there is an illegal occupation. They do not want them there. They maintain sovereignty. Here is Denzi pushing the UN on this matter. And the person who's responding, Haq, H-A-Q, gets our award for most snivelly diplomat of the week. Watch.
Yes, Deji.
Couple of questions on Syria. Yesterday, there's a drone attack to a U.S. base in northeast Syria, which resulted in one death and 6 injured. After that, U.S. launched a airstrike, also killed 11 people in Syria. Any reaction from the Secretary General on this incident?
Oh, well, of course, we continue to be worried about all of the continuing tensions, and we are trying to see what can be done to lower the tensions from different forces in Syria, and we'll continue with those efforts.
Do you not to urge everybody to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syria?
Well, of course, that's a given, and obviously it's important that the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syria is respected. At the same time, you're aware of the complexity of the situation of foreign forces, but we call for them to exercise restraint.
But do you think the presence of the U.S. military in Syria is illegal or not?
That's not an issue that we're dealing with at this stage. There's been a war.
But is that because it sounds very familiar. This week we talk a lot about the UN Charter, the international law, and relative resolutions. But it sounds to me a foreign presence, foreign military-based presence in another country without invitation sounds like something else to me. You know.
I'll leave your analysis to you. There's at this stage.
What's the difference between Syria, the situation in Syria, and the situation in Ukraine?
There's no U.S. armed forces inside of Syria, and so I don't have a. It's not a parallel situation.
You're
to some of
sure
the others.
there's no U.S. military personnel?
I believe there's military activity.
Yeah,
but in terms of a ground presence in Syria, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, 5 U.S. service members were injured in that attack. If there were no U.S. service members in Syria, how could they got injured? That's weird, right? Should I ask you about that? And by the way, if you're talking about the resolution, the international law, here is the resolution from Security Council 2254, I believe. It says in its PA paragraph, reaffirming its strong commitment to the sovereignty, independence, unity, and territorial integrity of the Syrian Arab Republic, and to the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations.
Yes, I'm aware of that, and as you see, that is accepted by the members of the Security Council itself.
Yeah, so again, back to my question, is that illegal to have presence in Syria for the U.S. base? According to the relevant resolution that I just read out.
Yes, the relevant resolution does call for that, and we call on all countries to respect that. I wouldn't go beyond that at this stage.
While we were watching that, I dug through our archival footage because this apparently doesn't exist, but this is 100% not U.S. troops in Syria stealing oil. So I don't know who this is, but if we're not there...
Well, he
then what is
specifically
this?
says, yeah, but there's no U.S. armed forces in Syria. So probably those military trucks are carrying flowers, I would assume. Because he tells us they're not armed.
Well, and I love how he says they're not on the ground, they're in the air. And that's way different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, things get hot in there. That guy needs some water.
That guy deserves an award.
No, this reporter.
The reporter,
yes,
absolutely.
this reporter deserves an award.
Yes, the reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like how to make someone melt right in front of you. Now, I don't know why he would say there is no U.S. armed forces in Syria. If that were true, why did the U.S. Congress just vote on a bill to end military presence in Syria earlier this month? That's weird, right? In fact, they voted it down. That is weird and also unethical. But now the same representative that tried to and failed in Syria to get troop withdrawal is trying again in Somalia. This is the Somalia War Powers Resolution. It directs President Biden to remove armed forces in Somalia now. So Congress was not able to get this passed in Syria. How about Somalia? The president escalated military presence there in May of 2022 with an additional 500 troops. The U.S. says it is fighting al-Shabaab in Somalia, a group that was formed when the U.S. backed an invasion on Somalia by Ethiopia in 2006. This is truly the definition of vicious circle, right? This resolution is co-sponsored by Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona and Representative Ana Paulina Luna of Florida. Now, you can, and I want to say you should, call your congressional representative and ask them to vote to withdraw from Somalia. Vote yes on this resolution, but see how far it gets you. Now, Clayton and I both are registered voters in Pennsylvania. We vote from abroad, but we were Pennsylvania residents before we moved, so we are allowed to vote there. Even though... Now, I did call Pennsylvania Representative Chrissy Houlihan in advance of the Syria vote. I will, again, leave another message about Somalia and see how far it gets you. You should look up your representative and do the same. But this is what I got from it because Representative Chrissy Houlihan, in fact, voted against withdrawing troops in Syria. I don't know how much further we'll get in Somalia, but it's worth a voice. You know, at least because if you do, you get a really important voicemail like this one that I got.
Hi, I'm calling from the office of Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan. I wanted to let you know that we received your email showing support for withdrawing troops from Syria. I passed your message along to Congresswoman Houlihan and our team. And if you have any further questions or comments on this issue, please feel free to reach back out to us. We really appreciate you sharing your thoughts on these types of matters that are important to you. And hope you have a great day and take care. Bye.
Of course, now as a representative, you're representing us, and we're asking you to get American forces out of Syria, stop an illegal occupation of a country, stop stealing their oil, stop destabilizing that country. That's what we're asking you to do, Chrissy Houlihan.
Now, I was just outed myself. He said that I left an email and not a voicemail. So I apologize. I may have misspoke there, but I did send emails. I will send some more. Who knows? If we all send them,
it's
maybe
okay
we get
because
yes votes.
He got right into the Representative Houlihan's office and told her about your email. He said, I'm just going to pass that word right along. I'm sure he just brushed up from his chair, went and go, hey, wait before you vote.
Hot off the presses. Here it is. I'm going to bring it in here.
The Morrises don't want you to leave troops in Syria. Got it. I'm going to do not that.
So, but what are her special interests want her to do? What do the military contractors want her to do? The military contracts, the military industrial complex want her to do. That's going to be more important than you or me any day of the week, right?
Clearly.
Wherever the big money is coming from.
Clearly. So what are the odds here that this bill gets through the House of Representatives? And even if it does, it most likely would never get through the Senate, which is democratically controlled. And the president wants to expand war in Somalia. So clearly the Democrats want whatever the president wants. So I'm not optimistic. I'm going to give this a 10%. What about you? You want to put some odds on it?
I give it maybe a 4% chance of passing.
All right.
And, just as an example, like we're from this area, like what you could be doing with that money that we're wasting in Syria is doing things in your own district, right? There's a lot of problems in Reading, Pennsylvania that need your help, right? So that could be a priority. That could be where you could work to.
Yeah, Reading is where this massive chocolate factory fire is. I'm sure you've been
Explosion,
following
of course.
that. Yeah.
The Palmer factory. Yeah, but even beyond that, I mean,
could you imagine?
schools and jobs and infrastructure and bridges that are crumbling all through that area, factories that have left, all of those things, right? All the Reading outlets, gone now, mostly gone now. They're not what they used to be. So there's a lot you could really focus on instead of Syria and illegal occupation. Go ahead, David.
Well, I was just going to say, imagine if we cut 3/4 of the military budget federally, we would still be the largest military. And think of what good that could do here in this country.
Yeah,
it's
you
crazy.
know what? I'm glad you brought this up. Are you done with your thoughts on this? I don't want to step on you. Okay. Because I heard a lot of talk over the past few days about Donald Trump's big speech, that he gave the other day where he's going to tackle and go after the deep state, right? Which is amazing. Great. Awesome. Like, we need him to be talking about that because he had a chance to drain the swamp when he was there, and he did not do that. In fact, he added to it. That was great criticism of Donald Trump. That's not mine. That's just well known, right? Even among longtime supporters, like, he did not drain the swamp. And I think one of the arguments is that he was completely controlled by the deep state, right? They pushed him out. There was people running the show from behind the scenes. He brought in people that were part of the deep state. He didn't realize it, all of that, whatever. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Now he's calling for the getting rid of the deep state, right? No discussion about the deep state can happen unless someone opens their mouth and talks about the military-industrial complex. All of these discussions about the deep state that I've even heard like Alex Jones talking about it. Great. Like, they were talking about it in Trump's speech, and he was saying, great, that's great speech. He's been critical of him. I know that. Any discussion about the deep state that does not include discussions about eradicating the military-industrial complex, I don't even want to hear it, because that's the deep state. That's what's driving all of this. I mean, $900 billion a year military-industrial complex budget. Are you kidding me? That's the deep state. That's what's running the show. So unless I hear,
well, what
I want
is
to
he
hear that
actually
from
referring
Trump's
to?
mouth. I want to hear that from Trump's mouth.
Yeah, because what is he actually referring to if he's saying the deep state when it is? Because if you look, it's the CIA, it's all that, but that's all still military.
Yeah.
No, I mean, all of that funding we've got to start talking about this. Like, we need to start pushing these people in this election cycle, and I'm going to start doing it here on this show. But any discussion about the deep state needs to include this behemoth, what Dwight D. Eisenhower warned us about, and we need to be vocal about it on this channel, and we need to push the people that are covering those stories. We need to push the independent media. We need to be out there pushing the Tim Pools of the world to talk about it, and all of these people. We all need to be together on this and push this, because it's something I'm very, very passionate about, which is ending this military-industrial complex. I used to speak about it on Fox back in the day when I anchored Fox and Friends, and I would get pushback, about it. I would call it out on the air, and people were like, "What? You're saying that on Fox?" Yes. This is an absolute disaster, and we need to eradicate it. So I'm going to draw that line in the sand right here on the show.
Okay. And I will be prepared for that.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.